Okay, Dylan, there's a question I didn't like to ask you in the main interview, but are you or were you a gambling yard?
So back in South Africa, our yard was only a gambling yard. It was our focus. When we won the Grade 1 Summer Cup, we backed him from 100 to 1 to 12 to 1. We won a lot of money on him. We had a lot of doubles and trebles into him. I trained for a guy, he's a good friend of mine, Marlon Arenstam, who he was involved in the Hansie Cronje cricket match fixing thing, and he was primarily a gambler, and he didn't mind if the horses ran and won or ran and didn't run well, as long as when you told them to back a horse they won. So I had he had some friends and clients of his that were big gamblers, so we were a gambling yard. It was our focus. I think that's why I didn't enjoy it so much. I was young, it was a lot of pressure, but when you're young it's exciting, training for some serious gamblers. I wouldn't like to put myself under that much pressure now, but I'm sure when we get the horses and we get everything right, get the right horses and the right races, I'm sure we'll be known to have a touch again in the future.
Yeah, so would you be a form book beaver then, or would you employ somebody to do the form? Because you've got to be quite good to be able to say this is going to win.
Yes, so in South Africa I would, but in England, Jordan Hopkins is joined up with me. He's going to be joining the yard, doing some race planning, and he would be the form guru. I wouldn't be too clued up with the form here. I follow all the racing, but like you say, it's a lot more complicated here. There's a lot more racing to follow. I can't keep up with it all. So Jordan will be representing the yard and race planning and obviously form reading and trying to get the best out of every horse for us. And yeah, it's about getting them right, getting them in the right races, getting the right jockey on, and then every horse is different. So you can't back every horse. That's what I learned when I was training in South Africa and we were training for really big gamblers, is you can't back every horse and you can't back the same horse every time. You've got to get the horse on the day in the right race. Everything has to be right, and yeah, it does happen. It does come. We just got to hope we get one or two decent horses that.
The people listening to this will think you had really sharp owners in your yard. Every time you told them the back one, it would win. Yeah. So how, the bookmakers a lot more benevolent in South Africa?
Back in the days when I was training up until 2009, I think the guys could get a good bet on. I think now in South Africa it's more corporatized like it is here. Yeah, I'm not sure. I haven't really had a decent bet in England yet, so I'm not sure. But in South Africa, I would say back in the day they were a lot more brave than what they are now. Yeah.
And there's an interesting thing you were telling me about the shoes, which we don't have over here. You can change plates.
Yes. So in South Africa, they in the form they print what shoes the horses are wearing. So you would often see this: a horse would run 2 runs in steel shoes, and then they would put aluminium shoes on, which are much lighter, and back the horse in it would win. And that was called the gin strike. And a gin strike was very popular. The owner I trained for, Marlon Arenstam, loved the gin strike, and he would literally go to racing and look at all the horses' shoes in the parade ring, and he would not back a horse if it didn't have new shoes on. So it was one of those things. I don't know if it worked or not, but when his horses I had were running and they weren't really ready to win, they would run in steel shoes, and when they were ready to win, they would run in alamites, and if he was having a bet on them, they'd run in brand new alamites.
Did horses ever win in steel shoes?
I never had a horse win in steel shoes, no.
So it's a brilliant tool for punters then, really. Yeah. You could eliminate half the field.
Yeah, it would. I don't know if they run in steel shoes in England. I haven't really seen it. But in South Africa, it's a big part of the form book, and it's a big part of South African racing. So I'm quite surprised it's not a big thing here. Yeah.
Okay, have you got, just finally, talking about gambling, have you got your eye on the Wokingham or something like that to land a massive touch?
We had a run in the Cesarovic, which was huge for us in our first year with only 3 or 4 horses. He was in front till a furlong to go. He actually went to the front, which was unplanned, and he got badly bumped by Apprentice with a furlong to go, and he ended up obviously got taken out, and he's been injured since then. He's on a farm resting, so we had a big handicap runner. But we have got got one or two. We are looking at hopefully getting to big Saturday handicaps here. But like I said, it's a handful of horses on a limited budget. We're not getting ahead of ourselves. We'll see how it goes this season. Maybe next season, we don't know. We're playing it very carefully at this stage.
And when we can assume that the audience we've had behind us aren't the dark ones, so we'll be looking out for movements in the market.
Yes.
So brilliant. So
Brilliant.
Thanks for elaborating on that for us, and thanks very much.
Lovely, thank you. Thanks.